After 13 years in power and some damaging state election results, Angela Merkel's authority is visibly waning. She's giving up the leadership of the Christian Democrats, but she'll stay on as Chancellor. My guest this week here in Berlin is Wolfgang Schäuble, one of Germany's most famous and infamous politicians, a former finance minister for the Christian Democrats, now president of the parliament. How long can a wounded Angela Merkel cling on to power? Wolfgang Schäuble, welcome to Conflict Zone. Is this the beginning of the end for Angela Merkel in politics?
Yes, of course. She has announced that she will not run again for the presidency of the party, and she has announced that this means that she will not run again after this period, which, by the way, is from 2017 to 2021.
Can she last that long, till 2021?
Yes, of course.
She's wounded.
Not too much. I think she has taken the right decision at the right time. And look, the position of an elected chancellor in our constitution is on behalf of the expertise we had with the failure of the Weimar constitution, very strong. Once elected as chancellor, you can only be thrown out against your own desire, without your agreement, if there is a majority in parliament who elect another chancellor. That is, by the way, with all the respect, not thinkable, not to be imagined in this given parliament. Therefore, her position is constitutionally strong.
But inside the party, she has her critics and her enemies, of course, doesn't she?
Yes, but the party enjoys to have the federal chancellor as member of the party and not a member of another party. Therefore, I think the party will be fine with these things.
Really, she's already admitted she's lost the trust of the people. She already said that before the elections. So she's on her way down. The only question is how fast she goes down.
Nobody knows. Look, what's happened is a lot of things which come together. In some way, our, as we call it, Western system of democracy, rule of law, parliamentarism, is under stress. What happened in UK? The origin of modern parliamentarism moved the most important decision for the first decades in this century for UK from Westminster to a referendum. Crazy. What's going on all over continental Europe, member states of the European Union? A huge volatility, major shift. Look what happened in France 2 years ago.
But your party no longer connects to the voters. There were massive losses in Hessen. Your sister party suffered massive losses in Bavaria before that. You no longer connect. You provide them with a great economy, great wages, full employment, and they don't want you anymore.
Most parties all over Europe would be happy if they would get 27% of all voters. Therefore,
but not the ones who got 41% last time.
Yes, it's true.
It's a huge loss.
Yeah, but what I am saying is, or what I'm trying to say is, we have different reasons. One reason is the tectonical change in modern democracy. I think the main reason for this is a disruption in communication, which we enjoy by, or we suffer, whatever you like, by the new technologies. The next problem is linked with this, the globalization. To be influenced by developments, by events in all over the world, we, the German people, became aware in the migration crisis in 2015. And then, of course, any long period of government, stable government, successful government, and not to be disputed, without any doubt, the chancellorship of Angela Merkel has been impressively and extraordinarily successful for a long time.
Yes, but now
Yeah,
no
of
longer.
course.
Now no longer.
No, we will
Who are
see.
the beneficiaries?
Yeah,
the beneficiaries are the
that is
far
the
right
normal-
and the left, the
that is
Greens and the AfD.
That is the normal way of life. Everything in human life, in human existence, is for a time.
And her
And therefore-
time is over now.
Not over, but her time is coming here.
She is weakened, isn't she? She is
She
weaker.
is not as strong as she used to be, but she is not as weakened. She has taken a decision in a very sovereign manner, but for this, she is not weakened. Otherwise, any president, let's say in France, let's say in UK, in United States, in his second term would be weakened. That is not true.
But you can't ignore the fact that she is part of the problem, isn't she, now, for your party? She's no longer the solution. She is part of the problem. In politics, you know this better than I do. You either go up or you go down.
Yeah.
You don't stay still. You don't stay still.
That's human life.
Yeah, and
You
she's
go up and you
she's
go
going
down.
down. And she's going down.
Maybe, but she is strong. She remains strong.
She
And-
won't be seen as strong, though. She'll be seen as wounded now.
She's wounded and she is strong, both together. And therefore, I would not be so decided. She has announced she will not run again. That is an important step to announce it. I think there is a good chance, and we agree in my party that we will do what we can to avoid that there is the impression of lame duck. And therefore, we will see what will happen. It's not decided.
Some are already calling her a lame duck. The succession battle has begun, hasn't
Yes,
it?
of course, that's
already?
normal. In
And it's going to be bloody, isn't it? After 13 years, it will be bloody in your
let's see,
party.
wait and see. I think most competitors will survive. It will not be so bloody.
Who are going to be the top candidates?
We will see. I don't know. I will not give an answer to you. It's not my role in German politics to give an answer on such question on this very day, to be very frank.
From your point of view, isn't the worst aspect of these elections, the recent elections, that the far-right AfD now has seats in all 16 regional parliaments and is the only other party, apart from yours, to have seats in all the regional parliaments? That's a huge achievement for them. That's the worst aspect for you, isn't it?
The relative strength of the right-wing party, AfD, is, of course, I agree, the worst thing, it's the worst aspect from my perspective. But it's a matter of fact. We have the AfD with round about 92 members of parliament in the federal parliament. They are all elected. They have all equal rights and equal duties. Now they join all state parliaments. By the way, we have seen in the last two state elections in Bavaria as well as in Hessen that what has been foreseen by many observers, that they will move towards 20% or more. It's not decided, and it can be changed. But of course, what we suffer all over Europe, look what happened in France since decades. Look what was the very reason for the Brexit referendum in UK. If I remember very well, there was.
But let's stay if we may
no,
with Germany.
Let's
stay if we may with Germany.
Germany
because
has been unique.
your policies, your party's policies opened the door for the AfD, didn't they?
That's wrong. That's not wrong.
The polls show that 69% of Germans voted AfD because of concerns about immigration.
I don't agree. I will tell you, we have for nearly let's say 65 years, in Germany for the most time, we had, on behalf of our very specific and tragic past, the advantage that we didn't have a relevant right-wing party. In contrary to all parts of Europe. Look what's going on in Sweden, in Finland, in Netherlands, Italy, wherever you like. Now, 70 years after the creation of the Federal Republic of Germany, it seems that in this regard we also become a move towards something like a European normality. I don't like it. I don't like it. But it's a matter of fact.
Yeah, but immigration gave them their foothold, didn't it? Your party's
No,
immigration
if you look at the
policies allowed them to press the fear button.
Yeah, in the beginning it was not the immigration, it was the European integration, which was the button to create this party.
A poll done by the Cologne Institute of Economic Research. People are united by a general sense of unease about the future of their country. 69% lament the negative consequences of immigration. That's what unites the AfD voters.
But if you ask the voters of Hessen yesterday what was the most urgent problems for their decision, immigration is not in the head of the range, but in the end. Therefore,
no, but they got into the parliament. They got 12%.
They did, but they did it in all over other European countries. Of course,
you underestimated the AfD.
I don't underestimate, please.
You did underestimate.
No, we don't.
You referred to them in 2016 as boneheads. They're not boneheads, are they? They're doing much better than boneheads do.
We can
dismiss them.
No, it is not decided. It can be changed, but it's a matter of fact. And of course, the migration crisis in 2015 created a lot of nervousness. By the way, it was also for many people all over the world, it was a huge achievement that Germany was seen as such an open, generous, tolerant population. And the migrants have been greeted, welcome, hard, in a very cordial way.
But look at the backlash from this. Look at the backlash as far as the AfD. Look, in 22 European states now, you have a higher concentration of far-right parties than at any time for the last 30 years.
Maybe, but
you said last year, I think we can say there's no chance Germany will ever relapse into nationalism.
I am quite sure. I think they have. We will. Let's be clear. They got about 13%. That means 87% are totally clear. I think many people in Europe, many states in Europe, member states of the European Union, would be happy if the right-wing party would limit it to 13%.
But 5 years ago, this was unthinkable, that they would have 90-odd seats in the Bundestag and be represented in 16 out of 16 states.
Democracy, maybe in 5 years.
And that was unthinkable.
Maybe in 5 years, I can remember you said it would be, and you would say it is unthinkable that they will be diminished. We will see. Future is always open. It is.
But in the light of how well they've done, don't you want to reassess your comforting statement that there's no chance Germany will ever relapse into nationalism?
Germany will never ever relapse into nationalism. The broad majority of German people will never move towards nationalism.
You suggest that European integration was the reason, or part of the reason, that the continent overcame the disaster of Hitler and the Cold War divisions. But there is now what President Macron calls a civil war taking place in the EU. Divisions over values are like a European civil war. He said that in April. The battle between liberal and illiberal democracies. Do you take that seriously?
No, I don't agree. I like the French president very much, and he make impressive attempts to get reforms in France done. He's very engaged in pro-European, strengthen Europe. I agree. Having said this, I would not share this wording in saying we are in a civil war and on values and so.
But Hungary and Poland, they've thrown down direct challenges, haven't they? Direct challenges.
Wait a moment. I am quite careful in always criticizing our eastern neighbors. They have a different history, they have a different development, they have different chances, and what they don't need and what they don't deserve is that they are always treated not on an equal level, but they have always the feeling that we from the Western, we want to teach them. We want to say, you have to do so. No, say we wouldn't have German reunification.
But the club, the EU club has rules, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
which you are so keen on countries observing.
Yeah. As a British, you must be careful to ask me on the rules of the club of the European integration. I will tell you, without the engagement and the courage of East European people in times of communist and Soviet empire, we wouldn't have enjoyed the German reunification. It was Poland, it was Czech, it was Hungary, all these countries, and therefore we must be a little bit more generous to these countries. Of course, we have to tell.
They're moving in the opposite direction. You can be generous all you want. They're moving in.
Wait and see.
Viktor Orban has thrown down a direct challenge, hasn't he? He said Brussels is currently ruled by those who want a European empire.
No.
Directed not by nations.
Who is saying this?
Viktor Orban said that.
Yeah. There is a lot
Brussels
of wording.
Bureaucrats, pro-migration politicians want
you make me impatient, with all due respect. Quoting some.
This is what he wants.
No, wait a moment. I'm an old man. I'm not so fast.
Me too.
Okay, then let's be quiet. To quote some political leaders with some specific quotes makes no sense in public in discussion. In substance, we are working for common rules in Europe. By the way, you have seen Poland. I take Poland as an example. They have a different understanding on the reform of their justice system. But when the European Court decided last week, they have to cancel, they have to correct the decision to send the elder judges in pension. They corrected it, and the elder pensioners the elder judges has been called back. Therefore, as long as the decisions of the European Court are respected by member states, I would not criticize them. I'm a lawyer, and a lawyer knows there are always different opinions. At the end,
Schäuble, well, let me talk to you as a lawyer, because the subject of rules came up, and you have been most insistent when talking about them. In 2016, you said it clearly: all nations must stick to the rules of the single currency.
Yeah, so this was my.
But they don't. They don't, do they? Who doesn't? The Stability Pact was introduced. Since it's been introduced, not a single year has gone by without at least one member country's finances breaching EU's guidelines. You know this. You know this.
No, but
who are the rules for? The little countries?
No, we in Germany we try to respect the rules.
Really?
In my time as finance minister, I did work for respecting the rules. I know
you have 76 rule infringement cases against you now in the Brussels.
Yeah.
According to the Greens, you're no longer the model pupil. You're bottom of the class. Germany is bottom of the class.
Yeah. We are not a model. We have never understood ourselves as a model for others. That is not what. But what we do.
So why don't you obey the rules?
What we do respect is. If the European Court decides, we respect the decision. Therefore, the rule of law is very important, and we do respect. Of course, I don't say that Germany is without any mistake, by far not. But what I'm asking for is that we have mutual respect, and we don't always blame our neighbors in the East. I don't like it.
But you've always said, play by the rules. Everybody, since 2007, Germany has continuously been in breach of European current account rules.
I just have defended the impression of arrogance in relation to our Eastern European neighbors. Now you are blaming Germany.
There's hypocrisy, isn't there, from Germany on this?
What?
Hypocrisy, telling people to obey the rules, and you don't. You don't.
No one is perfect. Even Germany is not perfect.
Is that
not
the best
hypocrisy.
Excuse you can give
That
me?
is not
Nobody's
hypocrisy.
perfect.
I always criticize. I am working in my country to respect the rules, but we don't. We are not better than the Polish and other member states. Therefore, that respecting the rules is an ongoing battle of every day. And before you criticize others, you have always to care on yourself. And we have a lot of reasons to care ourselves. But having said this, I would not say Germany does not respect the rules. In my time as finance minister, I was not criticized not to respect the rules for finance. the finance rules, and even the Pact on Stability and Growth.
And now, Herr Schäuble, you have Italy, the latest challenge to Eurozone rules. You're smiling about this, but they've thrown down a severe challenge to Brussels, haven't they? And Jean-Claude Juncker says it once again threatens the Euro's existence. First time that Italy's budget has been turned down. First time a Eurozone
I smile because I would have enjoyed if all these people who are now saying this in relation to Italy would have supported me in the times when we tried to tell the Greek people that they have to respect the rules, with all the respect. Therefore,
the accusation was that you went too far with Greece.
No,
wasn't it?
We did. The accusation in my parliament has been I have been too generous in relation to Greece, and that was also true because Greece didn't respect the rules. But having said this, we did it in a suitable way. And I will tell you, I was happy that the European Commission has said rules are rules. I quote Pierre Moscovici, the responsible member of Commission, and he said rules are rules. And I was happy because in former times he criticized me in saying that rules have to be respected. Now,
but the problem with Italy is that the Commission is telling them they can't have their budget. Do you really think that Brussels can tell a freely elected country whose economy has been stagnant for the best part of 20 years that it can't pursue the policies it was elected to implement? You really think Brussels can do that?
Wait a moment. You just tried to convince me that we should respect the rules. Now you are telling me we should not ask to Italy to stick to the rules. Okay, maybe it's a contradiction, but having said this, I
can play both sides.
Yeah, I see.
I just want you to play one.
I will tell you, I play always the same. I am totally convinced that the problem of Italy is not a lack of debt or a lack of deficit. That is not the problem of Italy. If a lack of debt or that means increasing debt, increasing deficit would solve the Italian problems, that's wrong.
How serious a crisis is this for the Eurozone?
Yes, the crisis is serious, but I think markets will tell them you will not get financed. If you have a huge deficit and you want to increase your huge deficit, you always have to find someone who give you credit. You have to pay a price. And you can see the spreads are increasing. Therefore, I hope this situation is serious. The EU Commission is doing the right job in this very
situation. And the
situation.
Italians have said we are not giving in.
Okay.
We are not going to give in.
Let's wait and see.
And if they don't give in and there's no result?
We will see. I will not speculate, but we will see.
I
don't like to be blackmailed. I never like to be blackmailed. Therefore, let it read.
I want, if I may, to talk briefly about Saudi Arabia and Germany's decision to suspend arms sales to Riyadh after the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. President Macron.
Excuse me. I am not member of government. I am president of the Bundestag, the federal parliament.
Do you think it's appropriate to
I do restrict myself to comment any decision of politicians and government in this very time. Having said this, I would like to make clear, Chancellor Merkel has said, if I quote rightly, until this affair is cleared, until we know what's happened, we will suspend. He did not say we will cancel. All our experts here said we do suspend until we have a clear that the things have been cleared, what happened. And so if that is to the government, I think it's right.
It's right on what grounds? Moral grounds?
It's right to make pressure that there must be we have to know what happened really and why and who is responsible for this.
But it's a bit late for morality, isn't it? I mean, there are credible
allegations. It's not a matter of morality.
The Saudis have been committing war crimes in Yemen ever since that started, and your government did nothing about it.
Okay, if you want to judge world politics only on moral categories, you will always have a lot of problems. You have always find the right balance. You know the the famous German scientist, Max Weber, 100 years ago said earlier that you have to decide, you have to find the right balance between ethics and responsibility. And to find the right balance is a very difficult thing every day in politics. You have always work for the right balance. You must not pursue a politics without moral.
All right.
But you can't on the other hand, not replace political decisions only by morals. That will not succeed.
All right. Wolfgang Schäuble, thank you very much for being on Conflict Zone.